Bitcast. It's your boy, and I'm back here with Zach again. What's going on, Zach? I can't hear you.
My bad. Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, doing good. So, Zach. We got a good topic here today. Talking about the year 2008. Before we get into it, do you have anything you wanna anything you're watching or any news that came up that you want to talk about?
Yeah, of course. Well, I want to start though. I think we should rename the show East Meets West because the different coasts we're on.
East meets West. Yeah, it's so hard to like schedule a podcast sometimes.
But besides that, well, I'm glad the strike's over officially.
Yeah. Yes. I'm glad.
How long did that take?
Was it 9 months or something like that? Because it was
Amazing.
weird. It was like the writers were striking, and then the actors started to strike, and then the writers stopped, and now the actors stopped. So it's kind of hard to like if you unless you're in it, it's hard to follow like the timeline.
So what do you think? Do you think that there's going to be like, is this it? Are we done? Like, what's the deal?
No, we're not done. I know as far as the writers, obviously any negotiation is a good compromise, and obviously the writers didn't get everything they wanted, the studios didn't get everything they wanted, so from what I heard, this is a great deal that's on the table that they took, and in 3 years they can come back to the table and negotiate again. Especially because by then we will have a better idea of how AI will be continued to be used in this industry. So it's
Right.
another 3 years. Um, in another 3 years, we might see. We hopefully we won't see another strike because a lot of people were talking about. Look, it took them what 3 days, I think they said, to negotiate this. This could have been done weeks
Insanity.
ago. Weeks. This could have been done
Months.
months ago. Yeah, months. So it's like, come on, man, what you guys are doing? I mean, it was really the studios who took it a little too far, talking about let's just drown them out. Let's get them so desperate that they need us to eat and they need us to keep their houses. I think that was a little too far. A little too far.
Kind of insane that it took, that's what it takes. But hey, at least we're getting content, even though it's pushed back for a little bit.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, studios already took this into account and they pushed back the releases of a lot of movies. Like Dune is was supposed to come out this month, but it's coming out in March or April of next year.
March, yeah.
So
Who cares? A couple months.
yeah, and a lot of studios did that too because the actors were on strike, so they couldn't promote their films.
It's yeah, because Dune's like done, so
Oh
it's
yeah,
not like
it's been done. It's cooked.
so it's just marketing now.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, the strike is over. People are getting back to it. Um I heard that they were working already, and so well the writers. The actors
Yeah.
are just getting back to work. So yeah, man, I mean, we're gonna get our content again. Um yeah. So
I've been watching Loki as well. So to answer your other
I
question.
was about to yeah, what do you think of that? What do you think about Loki season 1? Have you seen all of it? What episode are you up
Yeah,
to?
I've watched all of it. I finished all of them.
Tonight me and my wife are gonna watch the season finale. We haven't finished it yet.
It's good.
It's all right.
No, the season finale is good.
Oh, the season finale is good. Okay. All right. Cause this I mean, I liked season Loki season 1. This season I was kind of like it's entertaining, I like Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson, them bumping against each other and having dialogue, but I'm like, where is this season going? Like what are we
You'll
doing?
see. It connects because it
Wow.
obviously goes to another phase for the finale where it's where it's at. So you're like, okay. It just sucks that it's got to take a show to kind of do that. Instead of having all these movies that they're spending all this money on, that's pointless, really.
So there's 6 episodes, just like the last season. It's
Hmm.
roughly 5 to 6 hours. Do you think this season could have just been a movie, a good 2 hours and 12-minute movie? You know.
Yeah, they should have made the season longer. There's a lot to unpack.
Oh, they should have made it longer.
Hmm.
Ah, because I'm watching this season. I've only seen the episode
There's
5.
no fluff. There's like zero fluff, and I'm like, this is probably the most well-made Marvel show by
Yeah,
far. There
yeah.
needs to be a little more substance to it. It's too thin.
I think you know why I think it's one of the better made ones because everything is not too CG. I mean, it's like they're making these elaborate sets and they're kind of like kooky looking sets, but they're obviously real. They're not
Hmm.
100% virtual like a lot of. I mean, look at Quantum Mania. Everything is fake, but like they're clearly making these sets. They're making the pie room. They're making the control room for the loom, and it's kind of cool to see. And obviously, they're going to regular places like neighborhoods and stuff like that. But
Yeah, no, I like it. It's pretty cool. It's doing some backstory of characters in TVA who they were before they turned into them,
yeah, because
which is
I'm
kind of
like
neat.
again, I'm at episode 5, so I'm like, yo, this could have been a movie. I feel like there's a lot going on,
Definitely
but
could have been a movie, but it
nothing going
shouldn't
on.
be so light. You know what I mean? It's very light. I don't like it.
Okay. Uh, Especially with how serious the matter is, how humongous everything is going on because it's propelling to another phase. Whereas speaking of to another phase, the Marvels I heard debuted at a middling 6.5 million opening.
That's it.
That's it. That's
Because
it.
no one cares about them.
And you know what's funny too? The marketing for them.
Characters suck.
I
I
will
know.
agree.
I'm like, I'm just like, look, it's probably going to turn into some kind of feminine thing where it's because it's all women cast, which isn't true because Wonder Woman, first movie, was so well done.
Yes, the
Um,
first one was well done. The second
yeah,
one,
the first one, yeah, the
I
second
don't
one was
know,
bad,
bro. I don't know
but
what happened with Wonder Woman 84.
villain was awful.
The r-
Pedro Pascal looked like he was just phoning it in the entire time, but
the
I'm,
script
I'm not trying to
was
digress.
abysmal. But anyway,
No,
um
but the characters just like they're not doing it for me. Like there's plenty of female characters in Marvel, the superheroes, even the stuff they cover, right? Like Wanda, Vision was great, that are
mhm,
really powerful and they're great. You know what I mean?
yes.
This none of the characters really like connect to a lot of people. It's not just me. Look, if you how much money do you think they spent? A couple hundred
It was
million?
like 250 or 70. It got
That's a lot
expensive
of cash,
because
dude.
they had a lot of reshoots and they had to hold the movie. So it
Yeah,
was
and how much are they're not making it back?
nah. I mean, to elaborate on what you said about how no one cares about the characters. So you got Captain Marvel, right? Who's leading the team. The one character no one cares about in the MCU. Let's be honest. It's not all Brie Larson's fault or whatever. Marvel flopped the character herself. They didn't do good with her. They didn't do a good job introducing her. They didn't do a good job fleshing her out.
No, she just like randomly popped up out of nowhere. I'm
And
like,
then you
come
got
on,
two
man.
characters who are not introduced by a movie, but by a TV show. And and the one character played by Tiana Paris, she wasn't the main character of WandaVision. She was a integral part, but not the main character. Now, Miss Marvel, she had her own show, but a lot of people tuned
Which
out.
was okay.
Yeah, it was it
Yeah, it
was
was
it was like a nerd show, and I liked it because I'm a nerd. But a lot of people tuned out before the end of it. And I will say it didn't end well. A lot of these Marvel shows don't end well. So I'm curious to see the end of Loki. But well, a lot of Disney shows don't end well cuz the Star Wars shows finales aren't great too. But yeah, so you got these middling characters and you're headlining them as a blockbuster that no one asked for. Let's be honest. And yes, the first Captain Marvel made $1 billion, but did you not see the feedback at the back end of that? A lot of people showed up to check out this character because it was a great female warrior character, and then by the end of it, everybody was like, "What the hell was that?"
You know why? Because it was leading up to Avengers, so the precipice, right? Like, and we've come back to the
That part.
Marvel doesn't have it. They have a villain problem where how are you going to build up for Thanos? The buster not just on Thanos. Now you got to explain that someone's stronger and better. How are you going to lead up to it, right? You got to have like enticing characters. So people were seeing Marvel, the Captain Marvel movie just because they didn't want to have any plot holes for when Avengers came out.
Yes,
It was out of necessity versus just because of a desire. I
it's
feel like.
very true. And then people came out of that movie like, "Oh, I really didn't need to see that before Avengers." And
Yeah,
then a lot of people were like, "Oh, like a great strong female warrior character. Let's go see the movie." And then they're like, "Oh, she was kind of boring and
it's more
stale."
than boring.
And the only thing that
Super
propelled
boring.
that movie was Samuel L. Jackson. And then it was like, "What the
Yes,
f? That's how he messed up his eye? What? No, like, why is that canon?"
stupid.
But yeah. So I don't know what Disney was thinking with the Marvels. I honestly think they did this because it was a contract issue with Brie Larson that they had to do this movie. That Disney had to do this movie because they banked a lot on this character, and then it didn't flesh out. And then it was like, "Oh, what do we do? We have to make this movie under contract. So let's just
Yeah,
do it, but let's put a whole
just get
bunch
out
of
of the
other
way.
characters in there so that
Stupid.
so that it's still her movie, but we give a little more to the people who don't really like this one character."
Definitely. And I also rewatched Oppenheimer again last
Oh
night this
yeah,
morning.
did you see it all the way
Yeah,
through?
yeah.
Oh, God bless you, sir.
It's good.
It is good. It is good.
It needs to get some Oscar buzz for sure.
Oh, it will. Come on, man. I mean, I know none of us here, you and I, probably haven't watched the Oscars in a while, but we know what those Oscar panelists look for, and Oppenheimer is everything that the
Against that.
Oscars that the Oscars like drool over, So
Well, there's a couple black people in there, you know.
in the background for one scene. But race aside, it's a talking head movie that's very long that uses old film principles. It's
Which is great.
it's great, and it's exactly what they're looking for. I think
It's a
this
period piece,
movie,
dude.
Oppenheimer, is unique in that it's very old school and very like Oscar baity type thing, but it tracked to the whole mainstream of people. Like I saw it, you saw it, everybody talking about it. Like it was such a mainstream movie for what it was, which is very interesting. Maybe that's the star power of Christopher Nolan. I don't know,
It's
but
Chris Nolan.
you
Anyone
know,
else makes something like that, they're like, whatever.
because it seems like more like a Kenneth Branagh movie that is like A24 movie or something. But you got
Yeah,
Universal behind it. You got Christopher
right.
Nolan. You got all these YouTube videos talking about how they made it and how they did it. It seemed like such a blockbuster, but it's really just a talking head movie. It's very unique. It's very interesting when you think about it, when you lay it out like that.
I mean, I like it in the sense that it's covering a part in history and figure that no one talks about. It's like when we were in high school doing U.S. history, we broached on this guy for literally 5 seconds.
Yeah,
You
I
know what I mean?
know. I know. Literally, yeah.
So, and he's the main driving force behind why the world has atomic capabilities, right? So
Hmm.
it was good. I think for what it was like in terms of the subject, he did a good job because not too many people can make something like that really fascinating and compelling,
Right,
even though this guy has a compelling story.
right, right. Yeah, I mean it's very interesting, and I wanted to ask. So with Oppenheimer, matter of fact, so let me get this clear. You watched this movie top to bottom for the second
hmm
time for three
hmm
hours. Like you ordered off Amazon, you watched it, right?
I didn't order off Amazon. I watched it on Apollo, but yeah, I mean, pretty
Oh,
much.
okay, okay, okay. I'm guessing that you paused this movie, right? At some point. Got something to
So
eat.
here's the thing. I no, I mean, dude, when I commit, I commit. Just how it is. You know how like I watched all the Matrix movies the day before the Matrix movie came out, all three? Dude, that was over 12 hours. Keep in mind of movies.
Bro, you're a superhero, man. You're a rare breed, man. Cause you ain't gonna
You know
find
what was a
anyone.
movie that was tough for me to
What?
watch only because I think it was the elements was the whale.
Okay.
That was tough to watch.
That was tough.
That wasn't very long, but man, it was tough to watch.
I feel like that's a Darren Aronofsky staple with his movies. It's like, man, they're hard to watch. It's like you watch them once, you're like, oh, I seen it. I did what I was supposed to do. I watched it once.
I don't want to see that movie again. It's enough. No, it's depressing, dude. It's the imagery. It's a low budget movie, but it doesn't need to be high budget to get the imagery around for what it was.
Mm.
Brendan Fraser, man. I mean, God bless him. I'm looking forward to Killing Flower Moon, though.
I'm gonna watch it, but I'm gonna wait till it comes out on digital. 3.5 hours. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for that. Pause that. Get something to eat.
What I think those movies, I, when you look at it for what it is, right? Any of those movies, and you're trying to cut something out to make it shorter, what can you cut out? That's the thing. Like you look at Wolf of Wall Street or you take Oppenheimer, like what can you cut out that's not going to take away the continuity of the story?
Well, well. So we talked about this before. Let's compare a movie like you said, Wolf of Wall Street, right? Let's compare that to Avatar: Way of the Water.
Yeah, but Avatar is different, right? Because
That's what I'm
Avatar is
saying. That's 3.5 hours
the
long too.
plot, but the plot stretched just to get the experience in. That's the difference.
Exactly. Exactly. Like
Versus telling the story, which they could have done in an easy hour and a half.
Avatar: Way of the Water was like, how many times am I gonna sit there and watch them like swim in
But
this water?
Cameron does that on purpose because he knows, like, look, this is you're sitting there knowing it's going to be that long, and you're experiencing it. Like that's the whole point. Like the his your senses are activated. Like that's the part of the experience, right? Versus he's telling the story in the slowest way he possibly could, just so you could get everything else like absorbed,
Well,
knowing that
I will rebut
that's
and
how he
say that
operates.
when it was released, there was no runtime released. He wouldn't release how long the movie was. And I watched it when it first came out. And then I watched a bunch of YouTube people talk about how like they went in there and they timed it because they wanted to give the viewers a clear idea of how long the movie was, and everybody's times differently, right? Some people time to the open credits to the end credits. Some people time just the movie with no credits and stuff. So there was different times that were laid out, but there was
It's
no
still over
clear.
3 hours, no matter how
Yeah,
you
it's
slice
it's
it.
over 3 hours. Yeah, it's over. Yes, it's over 3 hours. And there was even like guides online that was like, if you want to watch Way of Water but you can't sit that long, here's a guide of when to leave and go to the bathroom or go get snacks. That's I think that's kind of wild, but that's just me, man. I feel like you should get your story as tight as you can, and if not, give me an intermission, bro. If you're over 3 hours,
How
give
do
me an
you
intermission.
how do you feel about the video game industry eclipsing TV and movie industry combined in terms of total revenue?
I think it's interesting because you probably know this more than me, but when you're looking inside the video game industry, it looks like they're still bleeding money. They're still like
No. No, they're not.
they're still bleeding money
No.
because these games are, for the most part, released broken. These games are half
They're
done,
release broken so they can make money. That's the point.
and that's the thing too. I was just watching this video off of Game Ranks, and they were talking about staples in video games that have digressed instead of evolved. And one of them was the very state of video games. You don't have full-fledged games anymore. You have pieces that are released for $70, and then patches come out, and they're like, okay, we'll give you the time, but why you keep releasing these games? And then they send out these patches, and then they send out these boxes. It's like, hey, buy this, and
Well,
you
you
get
know
all
why?
the
So I think I
costumes.
told you this. So I have a friend that I play Xbox with who was a developer for Bethesda on the East Coast for a really long time, and then he ended up resigning just because of the what's the word? I guess it's just tremendous, not pressure, but just like
Oh, the
the
work environment, the
yeah,
work
just
life
all of it,
balance.
right?
You know.
What he did in particular is that he did sound engineering. So when there was a certain
Oh,
movement or sound to be made, he was the one that made the expectation of how that sound was going to be linked, and he did the
right,
programming for that.
right.
He simply told me this: they release an incomplete game, and the developers do it because it's out of pure laziness. That's why the file sizes are the way they are. It's why it's incomplete because then they can send patches through because then they can start working on DLC, microtransactions, whatever the case is. Like
Yeah, and games
it's
are not
turned into such a
optimized anymore.
no, it's turned into a monetized type of thing where it's efficiency, right? And now there's a little bit of a reckoning where these studios no longer can do that because look, there's so many different options now. What's going to prevent you from like just doing something else or getting something else if you know
I
it's going to
mean,
be
look at
broken? Like,
Larian Studios. Look at Baldur's Gate 3, the most
yeah,
complete game of the year. And from what I heard, it was like a mid budget. It wasn't as big as like a Call of Duty budget or whatever. It was a
or
pretty
Starfield.
it was a pretty standard budget, and it's the most complete, robust game of the year.
What do you think? So when Grand Theft Auto comes out 6, right?
Hmm.
Rockstar's dropping maybe a couple billion on this, which is insane to me. Their games are usually pretty good too,
They're pretty
but
complete. They're pretty finished.
that's why they spend 10 years making them.
Yeah.
People are like, "Oh, the wait." I'm like, "Yeah, but how often do you have issues?"
Now let's be
You know,
clear.
and
They haven't made a game in this climate yet. Their last
it's
released
true.
their last release was in the
With
2000 PS3 era.
no, Red Dead Redemption 2 was 18.
Really?
Yeah,
Shit, let me check that.
cuz Grand Theft Auto 5 was remade countless times, right? So,
Yeah, literally every like generation.
but I don't think people care about the
Oh
climate
yeah, it
now.
was
Like,
2018. Oh yeah,
yeah.
it was for my PS4 back when I
Yeah.
was in a PlayStation camp. Yeah.
But they're dropping all this cash, but they're the masters of microtransactions and getting money spent after the fact. They are kings at it, knowing they're going to spend $2 billion and they're going to get it back easy.
To be fair, their microtransactions are in not in their complete game, they're in their multiplayer expansions.
Yes, only not in the single player,
So you
which
do
is
get a
fair.
full game experience when you pay that money, you know.
Yes,
So to
and
be
their
fair.
single players are epic,
Oh, they're excellent storytellers. Excellent.
and multiplayer is big. Always, it's always been big.
Yes. Yeah, so you know what you're getting with multiplayer. But yeah, I
They
mean,
might do $70, dude, $80 for these games. I'm telling you, like
in my,
don't don't be surprised within the next couple years that you might have to pay $100 for a standard base game,
now standard games now are $70. If
depending if it's optimized or not. Yeah,
if GTA 6 is $80, would you spend it?
probably
I would too.
because I know what I'm getting.
I would too because I'm not like you said, I know what I'm getting. And I mean, if you feel any kind of way, you can wait for like a spring sale or
Bro,
whatever
we've
sale.
played every GTA and all of them have been good. What's going to prevent us from getting six? What have they done that's going to make us feel otherwise?
Nothing.
It's not like EA with all of their crap, right? Or Call of Duty, Activision. Like Call of Duty's got to get more interesting at some point. Like I just saw a commercial a little bit ago about there's a soldier in all of you now. Like they're marketing people who didn't join the military or thinking they have a romanticized idea how war works and make it seem like, hey, you could be a soldier and no scope someone 800 meters away.
It's like you said, man. It's like how many war
It's
games
making you
do we
something
have
be
now?
something that you're not.
How many
Yeah,
shooters do we
tons,
have now?
tons.
That stuff
Uh,
doesn't work anymore. That marketing doesn't work anymore, bro. Like we have
Not for
options
me.
now. You know how many first
I'll
person
never buy
shooters are
another
on
Call of
Steam?
Duty.
Nah,
I'll never buy another for what? Same thing for me to rage because people are cheating. Why would I do that?
it's the multiplayer is a jungle. It's crazy. And how many shoot first person shooters that are good are on Steam right now? Xbox,
Tons.
PlayStation.
And then we already know that there's already an unfair advantage because you have so many people who stream now. That's their form of income. They're going
Yes.
to find every advantage to cheat or get a way to win and show like, and attract more viewers.
It's not even
How is that
original
fun?
anymore. I mean, they're just remaking the Modern Warfare games. And I heard this last one was like so lackluster.
Space. I'm like, guys, come on.
Just burn it all
Where are
down,
we at?
start from scratch, stop bringing back Captain
W-
Price or whatever, make
World War
something
II
new.
ones is what made it great. Like, let's go with that. Come on. All right. People love shooting Nazis. Like, come on. Let's just make it. I'm
Can't go
serious
woke. You
though, you
can't go
know?
woke with shooting Nazis. You can't. Like,
Well, hey, that last so before we go to the next point, that last World War II game, the campaign actually had the swastika in the campaign,
mhm.
but they changed the swastika to make it not look like the swastika in multiplayer.
If you're fighting on the German side,
Right.
yeah,
There's no fascist symbols when you're playing the Germans on multiplayer online.
I don't see anything wrong with that. You know, that's true. Yeah.
I think that's stupid.
Eh, but who's gonna want to play as the Nazis besides the Nazis?
Dude, it doesn't matter. Like they've been doing this for so long. Like, come on, everyone knows what a Nazi is in swastika. What is this going to do? Seriously,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
and you know what I
who
mean?
was who
I
was
mean,
their allies? Japan and Mussolini or
Soviet
whatever.
Union for a little bit, and then they
They could
flipped.
have played as the USSR or whatever. Instead of making the opposite side, instead
Well,
of changing the signs, you could have just played as
I
the.
find the hammer and sickle just as blatantly offensive as I do the swastika, but I'm not going to have people like brandish for it for
That's
flying it. Like,
that's true. That's true.
but no, but that's I don't know. It is what it is. But it's kind of strange to me because you look at Modern Warfare, right? Like they never really did. You never played like the Taliban ever, right?
Nah, it was
Or
like
any of that stuff. Like that was never really a thing. Like
I forgot what they were,
you didn't have
insurgents or something they were called. Or
yeah, whatever, but they never explicit and they're Russian backed, right? So there was like it was never really explicitly made you were fighting Taliban, especially in the first Modern Warfare, right? When Desert Warfare was like a thing because we're already halfway through the campaigns in the Middle East, right? So
something.
it's just like, come on, let's go back to how it was fighting Nazis, Japanese, and I think it'll be better for it.
I don't know. They just need to burn all the whole franchise down, start from scratch, new
Well, don't you
controls and
think all
everything.
first-person shooters are kind of based on Call of Duty's like way of how it is and how it engages and all that? Like, I feel like all of them are the same
They are the same unless
for
they have
multiplayer.
a oh, for multiplayer, yeah, they are the same. All the same. I mean, Modern Warfare, the original one, was like a
Was great.
staple with that. I mean, because Halo really made it popular, but Halo was a
Yeah,
fantastical thing. And then you get
Halo
Modern
is a
Warfare.
completely different animal.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you get Modern Warfare that's more of like I mean, obviously Modern Warfare. And then when it came out at the time, we were, overseas fighting. So, you know, I feel like it really made that staple to where every game copied its controls. And now it's like a free for all. There's a first person shooter for everything now, and I don't know.
Takes the fun out of it, really.
It does, man. It's hard to find something original. I think that's why everybody liked Baldur's Gate 3 because it changed the game for RPGs. Because there's so many RPGs nowadays, even games that aren't supposed to be RPGs. I'm looking at you, Assassin's Creed. Uh, Everything's like an RPG now. So, but
I played a little bit of the Assassin's Creed, the new one, Mirage, and I couldn't finish it. It just did not keep me
oh yeah,
engaged.
I heard it's bad. And you know why I heard? You know why? I found out is because it was supposed to be a DLC for Valhalla, and then they decided let's just make a full fledged game. So it's you kind of get that sense like, oh, this isn't supposed to be something on its own that costs 60 or 70 bucks. This is supposed to be like a $30 DLC.
It's not very engaging. I had the Ubisoft subscription, so I was like, I'm not gonna buy it, so I'll spend all this money. I spend the 15 bucks for the subscription just to try out the game. I'm fine dropping that to see if I would like it or not.
Nah, that's not a bad
And I
idea.
didn't
That's
really
pretty
like it.
smart. Yeah, a lot of people didn't like it. I don't know of anybody who really did. Some people are just like, why don't you just play the old one? And so that's what some people have been doing, playing the older ones. Because this
God,
was
they're so
supposed to
good.
be like back to form Assassin's Creed, and it wasn't.
Not even close.
Yeah. So people are just playing the old ones. They're like, yo, this game is whack. Forget it. I don't know. Ubisoft is just falling off hard. I mean, they were the thing back in the 2010s. And I mean, I don't know.
Good thing none of them are Union.
Mm,
Can you
they
imagine?
should start trying to be. I mean, the
It's
VFX
too
world is
late now.
starting to
Yeah,
come
but
into
it's
play.
tough now. Like game industry as a whole, like
That's a whole
you
different
already know
beast.
this. These publishers, $1 billion companies, like they have a stranglehold.
Oh yeah, they
It's
do.
tough, dude.
Because look at all these games with their microtransactions. I'm like, this money ain't going to the developers.
Hell no, it's not.
It is not. Look at
And how
EA.
much money are they spending?
Look at EA, the loot box king. I mean, they've made so much money and so much noise that they got sued by the Supreme Court or something like that for gambling. But I don't see none of that money going to the developers that they be pushing on them. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's a whole different beast that I don't know nothing about. I'm a I'm a film guy. Um,
But here's the thing, like it's kind of been like this, like even with movies, right? Because most of the like unions for like actors and writers, like they've been established for a long time, right?
yeah, yes,
You can't do it like when you're at the end of
yeah.
something
When you're at the,
versus like the beginning.
that's very true. That's very
Because
true.
like because look here, because we're gonna talk about movies like '08, and stuff like that, like some of the comic book movies. Like think of the original Marvel movies that came out in the late 2000s, right? Like those special effects guys, they went it off and did their own thing once they were established.
Yes, yes, for the
You
most
know,
part.
you can't video games. That's tough, dude. Like you had to have been in the industry in the '90s to start your own thing in the 2000s. It's too late now.
Yeah, I mean, those VFX companies were already pretty big without Marvel. Like for example, because we're going to talk about 2008. 2008 is a staple in the film industry because specifically for superhero films, because that was the year that The Dark Knight and Iron Man
Hmm.
came out. Two films
Hmm.
arguably that changed the scope of superhero films.
Or
Now,
movies in general.
yeah, should we? Yeah, the whole industry.
Let's just go down that road, like the whole thing, because you can see like a little bit afterwards, action movies started kind of having, hey, look, this is a blueprint. Let's go down this road.
Yep, yep. And so ILM did the bulk of the VFX for Iron Man, and ILM, as we know, it was already established, was already a big
Yep.
studio made by George Lucas for Star
Yep.
Wars specifically.
And then Indiana Jones too, right?
Indiana, yes, Indiana Jones, and they did
Mm-hmm.
like a whole bunch of things like Abyss. They
Mm-hmm.
pioneered so many VFX that, and they didn't
It's a big
start out
reason
that
why I
way.
think Disney acquired them,
Yeah,
right? It was because of Star Wars, right? But the most important thing was the technology that was fueling the special effects is what they wanted.
yes, yes. I mean, they were pioneering these VFX from day one, and so yeah. I mean, 2008 comes out, and superhero films are like in a they're kind of all over the place, right? But they're not considered films yet, to be honest.
No one takes them
I
seriously.
mean, you got 2002 Spider-Man, 2000. 3 Daredevil, 2000 X-Men, 1998
Spider-Man
Blade,
2, though.
Spider-Man 2.
Sam Raimi, dude. It was Sam Raimi, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
To
man.
this day,
How come he doesn't do more stuff? I'm telling
he
you.
did Doctor
He
Strange
needs to.
too.
He did okay, but you
That
can
wasn't
tell
his
there was
fault though.
some.
That wasn't his fault.
There was a lot of. You can tell, like, look, we need you to do it this way because of this thing down the road in 5 years. You already know that's already a problem.
Yes, 100%. I mean, so movies, superhero movies were like their own category where they could
Hmm.
only do certain things. And then The Dark Knight and Iron Man came out. And
Hmm.
at the time, Marvel Studios was a new thing to where they needed to partner with Paramount to release Iron Man. That's how new it was. They gambled everything
Right, I
on Iron
forgot
Man.
because Marvel still wasn't owned by Disney yet, right?
No, they were like in this little ass office in I think
Rob,
California or something.
so just so everyone knows, Robert Downey Jr. was paid like 400K to do the first Iron Man, something ridiculous
They
like
didn't
that,
even want him. I think they wanted Tom Cruise.
something like
It
that.
was somebody they really wanted, and Jon Favreau was like, "No, it has to be Robert Downey Jr." He fought and
Yeah,
fought and fought for Robert Downey Jr., who was a gamble at the time because of his past. So,
yeah, because he was in prison for like 5 years for his drug stuff.
so it was it was such a gamble for everybody. This movie was. I mean, Marvel was bankrupt how many times before this?
Tons.
So they were if Iron Man didn't make it, Marvel Studios would have had their first and last movie and been out of the industry.
But it revives a couple careers because Paul Bettany as well. Keep in mind, he was pretty much out of Hollywood at that point,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He could not get a job, and then he got this little part as the voice of
which doesn't
Jarvis.
make sense. Fantastic actor, dude.
Fantastic. But he was the early 2000s guy, right? Like he was in the Da
I
Vinci
know.
Code, he was Knight's
Yeah,
Tale, he
yeah.
was that guy. And then all of a sudden, I mean, that's how it is in
Just
Hollywood,
fell.
right? You go through what, like almost a 10-year run, and then you're out, you know. Like Cameron Diaz in the early 2000s was like the it girl, and then she just
But
disappeared.
George Clooney, I think George Clooney he lived a little longer because he did both TV and movies,
Hmm.
and he went back and forth, and that kind of kept you relevant,
And
you
he
know,
stayed
because
in TV when the model was different, and you could make so much money in
much
TV.
money from movie. Yeah,
So he didn't even need to do movies. Like, imagine going to these auditions and you're like, I don't even need this part. I'm doing you a favor by being here. Like, everybody loves me. I'm George Clooney. I'm the face of TV. I'm the heartthrob and everything. So
exactly.
you have that attitude, like, I don't need this part. So you're going to get parts. And he got parts. The man was Batman, not a good one, but he was still Batman. And he made so much money with his bones. I mean, he made so much bones in the TV industry and made all his money. He didn't need to
But
do
yeah, but you didn't see actors do both.
no,
It was one or the other. Now it's
no.
kind of both. Like TV is definitely more coveted than movies now.
Oh yes,
But
yes.
he was definitely like the exception. Like, and
It was so hard to
I feel like
transition from TV to movies because it was so like, oh, you're a movie actor or you're a TV actor. You're not one of us. It was so hard to
imagine if Robert
transition.
Downey Jr. didn't get redeemed, right? Like, man, because I'll tell you something, he's a fantastic actor too. Like the parts he's done after Iron Man, like man,
Amazing. I mean, circle back to Oppenheimer, like you talked about.
dude, playing the senator, he played
Oh,
Strauss, the fantastic part. I'm
fantastic
like, dang,
role,
dude.
man. And he's not even doing his like staple Robert Downey Jr. thing that he got big on after Iron Man. He's just playing
Mm-mm.
a straight part, straightforward, and he's killing every scene he's in. Like the
I
little,
think everyone was
yeah.
in
I mean
that.
that Oppenheimer cast was stacked, bro. Stacked. Like Christopher Nolan knows how to pick them, bro. For real, for real. I mean, he's the same guy who picked Heath Ledger as um the Joker, and no one thought it was a good idea, and he stuck to his guns, and look
Or
what
Christian
happened.
Bale, because Christian Bale's Batman, because he wasn't the first choice either, and we all
Nope.
know how loose Christian Bale is.
Yeah,
Man's
man.
great. I love him and what he does, but man, that man,
And
you
he
don't know
came
what you're
off
getting,
of The Machinist when
dude.
when Christopher Nolan hired him as Batman. So he was like 100 pounds even or something like that. And then he had to gain all this muscle and weight to play Batman. He got too big.
He had to gain 70 or 80 pounds back to how he should be.
And he got too
And
big.
then he had to gain like 30 pounds extra of mass, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because his diet for the machinist was
A cigarette,
a pack of
apple, and
cigarettes
tuna
and
fish, I
an
think.
apple. It was like a handful of nuts or something. Like, yo, this dude looks like a Holocaust survivor, dude. Like, the dude
Crazy.
was very thin,
Yeah.
you know? I mean,
Crazy,
but
man.
Nolan, no, but no, one thing you can always say with, because I watched Memento, by the way,
Hmm.
to your recommendation, which was very fascinating,
Yes.
very interesting. But Nolan knows how to pick every part for every actor with their skill sets,
Yes. Yes.
which is why
Yes.
Batman was so good.
Yes. Which is why The Dark Knight was so good. The Dark Knight expanded on Batman Begins' cast. And even with the people who only had one or two scenes in The Dark Knight, killed it. There's not one person in The Dark Knight who didn't kill their role. And I challenge you to
How
find
often
somebody.
does people think about Maggie Gyllenhaal in Dark Knight saga?
I don't know. But
Because she was in there, and it's like, oh yeah, she's in there.
because she replaced who am I thinking of in Batman Begins? Tom Cruise's wife at the time. But she replaced her,
Oh, Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes. She replaced her, arguably one of the weaker roles in the Batman Begins movie.
Hmm.
That character was kind of like the weaker of the roles, but
Hmm.
she got better in Dark Knight. And Maggie Gyllenhaal, killed the role. And the Dark Knight, man, the Dark Knight, you know,
I have to
2000.
watch it again now. Just thinking about it.
I've seen that movie too many times. The Dark Knight comes out in 2008, and it blows people's minds. This is the first time that people was like, "Oh, you can make a regular movie and just throw a superhero in it." It's like, yeah, yeah, you can do that.
You know, Watchmen tried doing that, and it worked.
It worked. A lot of people didn't like it though. I think Watchmen was ahead of its time, to be honest.
Oh, DC characters you can do that with because not all of them are spectacular. We've gone through this before, but there's more
Human
there's more
characters.
humanity in terms of DC characters, if that makes sense. Not
Well,
all of them have these crazy ass
well, you
powers.
have to because when you have characters who are like gods, you got to have a lot of character in them to make them interesting. And Batman in the comics fights alongside people who are like gods, and he's arguably the
Like
one
Ra's al Ghul.
who humanizes them to the degree,
Hmm.
who reminds them like, yo, there's a human element to this. It's not just about, you know,
Well, yeah, he neutralizes them. He finds ways to get their weaknesses because he has to do that to fight them on the even path.
yeah. And so when you have, I mean, the Dark Knight, if you take the Joker, if you take Batman out of it, it's just a gangster movie. To be honest, it's like Goodfellas or Once Upon a Time in Brooklyn or A Bronx Tale or whatever, Godfather. It's that, and then you throw in the fantastical element of a guy in a SWAT suit with bat ears fighting a guy who's a sociopath, psychopath, who likes to blow things up with clown makeup on, you know, and people were just like, whoa, blown away because it was like a straightforward. It was like a movie. It was like this, bang. It was like a superhero movie that was trying to win an Oscar. That was trying to
It
do
did.
all the right things to win an Oscar. And it blew people away with the storytelling, with the acting. I mean, Heath Ledger earned his I was about to say degree, earned his award in posthumously, and it's like,
He
whoa.
would have won it even if he wasn't dead.
I know. I know. I
I,
mean,
I I'm just stating that fact right now.
I mean, what? The Dark Knight came out in '08, and people were still talking about how he was the best Joker, best live action Joker.
Well,
And we've had what, three or
yeah.
four after him? live action because there was a TV show Gotham. Well, they couldn't use the word Joker.
Jared Leto's good.
He's
Jared
alright.
Leto's good at playing that type of thing.
He's alright.
Well, no, if Jared Leto did it the way he could, he would be the best
His
because
problem was his.
Jared Leto,
The problem was the script. Let's be honest.
yeah, and the characterization of him too, right? Like he
Yeah,
was just not.
it
But
was
if
just
Jared
off.
Leto did it the way that I know he would want to, there's not going to be a comparison because the thing is with him and Heath Ledger, like Jared Leto's already gone down that place that Heath Ledger went, and Heath Ledger died because of it. Jared Leto's already gone there because that's just the kind of
That's
person
where
he
Jared
is.
Level lives, man.
He lives in that
That's his
dude. The
cave. That's
guy's
his
a the
joint.
guy's a bro. Like the guy just climbed the Empire State Building because he's talking about his release of his new album. Like, come on, you know.
That no one will listen to. But anyway, but
you said
Jared Leto, if you see him in Zack Snyder's Justice League cut,
it's good.
that's what the Joker should have been.
Should be. Yeah.
But because of the Suicide Squad, and it wasn't, I mean, the Suicide Squad was chopped up and screwed by the studio. It was bastardized, and
Which
what we
one?
got,
The first one?
yeah, the first one. Oh, my
The
bad. I
Matt
keep
the
saying the Suicide Squad, the one without the
yeah,
in it.
because that it's Matt. What's his name?
David Ayer directed that.
David Ayer. Thank you. I was about to say Matt
Um,
Ayer.
the studio arguably recut the movie behind his back. He didn't even know about it because a movie called Guardians of the Galaxy came out, and the studio was like, "We want Suicide Squad to be that movie," but Suicide Squad, the David Ayer cut, was a grittier, more serious movie, and then the studio hired a company to make the trailer with that Queen song, dun, 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 dun. And it had great reception. So the studio hired that company to recut the film without David Ayer knowing, and that's the film that we got. That's why people
It
are
was
still,
crap.
yeah, that's why people are still hollering, "Give us the Ayer cut," because it was arguably better, more heartfelt, more story. They did a lot of reshoots and stuff behind David Ayer's back and recut the movie without him knowing. So, but
But no one would do that to Chris Nolan though.
no, Christopher Nolan doesn't have a second or third unit. He's on set for every shot of his movies, which is very interesting, and which is why his movies take so long to shoot because he has to be behind the camera
But
every
he
time.
does all of it at once, like most of the work's being done while it's being filmed.
What do you mean?
Like, because he's a micromanager. Like, when he's filming a shot, he already knows what it's going to look like in post
Oh yeah, yeah,
production.
yeah,
Like, he's already getting that underway.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, he does everything his damn self because he don't want nobody else to touch his stuff, man.
If you had to guess what my favorite Chris Nolan movie is, because at this point I think I've seen most of them, if not all of them, what do you think it would be?
Dunkirk.
No. Prestige.
Okay. Respect, respect.
Bro, come on.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
that's. I don't know. I have a tie between Prestige and
Dunkirk's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I
not
really like
Interstellar.
that.
What's the one where they're dreaming? Inception.
Interstellar's pretty good.
Inception.
Inception?
Yeah, Inception and Prestige. It might be Prestige though. I don't know.
Dude, Prestige, come on.
Prestige is wild, bro. That's my movie, man. No one really talks about that when they talk about Christopher Nolan.
Now, do you think Hugh Jackman would have been able to play a villain in any of the Batman movies since he's already had a familiarity with him in other movies?
I think he could have played Harvey Dent.
Dude, that would have been perfect. No shot to Aaron Eckhart, but
No, Aaron Eckhart killed that. But if Eckhart couldn't play that, I feel like Hugh Jackman would have been a great Harvey Dent to Joker. You know,
he would need to sing though and dance.
especially no, dear God. But especially if you've seen Prisoners, directed by
Yes.
Denis Villeneuve, starring
Yes.
Jake Gyllenhaal, Hugh
Yep.
Jackman, Terrence Howard, Viola Davis. You watch that and you're like, Hugh Jackman could have played Harvey Dent, easy, easy.
Yes. He's a
Um,
good actor, dude.
oh,
He's so everyone sees him as Wolverine. I'm like, nah, man.
nah, he has range, bro. Like his range is
Well, yeah,
crazy.
look at his Broadway alone is
I know.
shows that.
I know. He loves his Broadway, his, his musicals. I am not a fan of musicals, but he loves them.
Dude, he's extremely talented. You know, you don't have a lot of people who can literally do everything.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's wild.
You know, I feel like we're talking too much about Batman. We got to kind of give love to Iron Man as much
All right, let's
as
let's give
Chris Nolan.
let's give love to Iron Man. Iron Man, which started a trend that every arguably blockbuster movie follows today, the after
Oh,
credit scene. It's getting to the point where I'm so sick of it now. Like,
I'm like, I'll just YouTube it when I get home.
yo, and they're on YouTube like that the day of. Like,
I'll go to YouTube and watch it and get home. I'm not gonna wait 20 minutes. I'm like, I just want to get home and eat some.
and I feel like even Marvel has messed up what they started because now Marvel will have an end credit scene that does nothing to add to their universe. It's just like the character sitting down, watch TV, or the character kissing somebody, or the character like, oh yeah,
You
that was
mean like the last
crazy.
Guardians of the Galaxy movie, like that? I'm like, why are they
Yo,
fighting?
he
What
was
the heck are
eating
they doing?
cereal and talking to his grandfather. He's like, "Yo, I'll cut the grass. I'll do it, but I don't want him to watch me." I was like, "This is the end credit scene. Like, what?
This is it.
Why? Shouldn't that be the mid credit scene and then the end credit scene be like the more important one?"
I feel like we can't talk about Iron Man without talking about all the other Marvel movies because it kind of springboarded it.
Mhm.
Even though the Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton really was the first one, I feel like they
But it came
made
out
it. They
after, didn't it?
it was just strange. Yeah, but Incredible Hulk movie was like the first one though,
It was
wasn't
released
it?
after
Oh, okay. Yeah, because
Iron Man.
Tony Stark was in the end credit scene for that.
Yeah,
That we have to use him for the Avengers.
yeah. That they added at the last minute at the end of that movie. They was like, "Oh, we gotta add this in to connect them," you know.
And now, 15 years later, this is where we're at.
Yeah, the Hulk is not the character we would have hoped for him to be in the MCU.
You know, Marvel talked about how they want to bring back all the original Avengers for the
Of course
Avengers
they did
movies. What do you
because
think?
they're bleeding. They're bleeding to death. They got nothing going on in their universe. The universe is in shambles. It's
There's
trash.
so many great characters to choose from. Like, come on, guys.
I know. It's just like you. Here's a thought. Here's a thought.
Mm.
Instead of bringing back their old characters, instead of bringing back Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., because Robert Downey Jr. is going to cost like 200 million alone. Why don't you bring back the writers who wrote the universe, Christopher McFeely and Marcus? Oh, I forget his name, but the two writers that jump started the Marcus
Marcus
and
Aurelius.
McFeely. They're the writing team called Marcus and McFeely. They
Marcus Aurelius.
they jump started the MCU. Bring those writers back and pay them
Hmm.
whatever they want. You know where they are right now? They are with
Amazon.
no. They are with the company Argo, started by the Russo brothers. After they did Endgame,
Oh, right.
they started their own
Yeah.
company, and Marcus and McFeely went with them. So I'm like, yo,
So you're saying they're effed?
no. I'm saying they made their money and they're done.
No, no. I'm talking about
Oh
Marvel.
yeah, Marvel. Yes, they need to bring back good writers. Stop just hiring these people. Well, actually, no. Let me not say that. You need to you need to let these good writers do what they do best. Because Michael Waldron is a good writer, and they destroyed his Doctor Strange script. Okay, his Doctor Strange 2 script. All right. You need to stop hiring good writers and then putting shackles on them. You need to let them do what they do. All right.
Okay, homeboy who does Rogue One, Gareth. What's
Gareth
his name?
Edwards.
Gareth Edwards. Okay, he needs to do the Punisher.
They're not going to do Punisher mainstream. No way.
They
No,
have to.
not in this PC
You need
culture.
to, bro.
No way.
Listen. All right. I think the PC culture is going away. Maybe
It's
I'm.
going away, but people are
I
still
don't know.
bitching that Disney has TVMA rated stuff on there. All right, so
Yeah, well,
it's not. They're not gonna do it. Not with the Disney brand, but they own 20th Century Fox, so they can do R-rated movies under that banner. Because people who aren't like you and me who know about the ins and outs, they're not gonna realize that Disney owns 20th Century Fox. So do that. You know, do that. Do
Daredevil's coming back though under the Disney banner,
I don't know what they
but
do.
they can't.
I don't know
You
what they do.
can't. You can't make it softer for what it was.
Yo, you can't go back. The Daredevil Netflix show is arguably one of the best shows, period, bro. Period.
Dude, the Punisher was there too.
Yo,
I
the
think
Punisher show was one of the best shows, period, bro.
ever. Yeah, Ben
Period.
Barnes as a villain was fantastic.
Bro. And you know what they did right? What Disney did right? They rehired
Hmm.
the actors who played in those Netflix Marvel shows. Because
Thank
you
God.
can't get anybody other than John Barenthal to play the Punisher. You pay that man whatever he asks to play that part. All right.
Same with Charlie Cox
Same
for
thing with
Matt
Charlie
Murdock.
Cox. He's killing it with that American accent, man. Playing
I don't
Daredevil
know
and
how
he's
he
having
does it.
fun. You know,
Yeah,
like come
Ben
on,
Barnes too.
Ben
His American
Barnes.
accent. I'm like, yo,
They
this
didn't say
dude's
they were going to
like.
bring him back. They need to bring him back. They need to do it. Ben Barnes is
I
a
wonder
great
if we
villain.
ask him. I wonder if we can tweet him and ask him to come back. Will he
Ben
come
Barnes
back?
is a killer ass villain. He's a great actor.
He's a singer. You know, like he does more of his music stuff
Oh
now.
yeah. Well, he's doing a lot of Netflix shows. He's doing a lot of that.
That's true. Cause didn't he get nominated for an Emmy on for that fantasy show?
Shadow and Bone, I think it's called.
Something like that. He got nominated for it for an Emmy for that.
Oh yeah, it's the show that no one watches because it's Netflix.
Yeah, but I mean, but this is where we're at. Like, you can kind of see, like, I think anything after 15
Hmm.
for Marvel is just kind of crap. Correct me if I'm
2015?
wrong. 15 or 16, yeah, for movies.
Nah. Did you forget that Endgame came out in 2019?
Endgame was good, but I'm talking about the standalone hero movies. Like Thor after
Oh yeah,
two
yeah, yeah,
was,
yeah, yeah. You're right about that. You're
no, I'm
right
serious.
about that.
Captain America, maybe Civil War. When did Civil War come out? 15.
2016.
Okay,
The
so I'm
same
right
year
around
that
that area.
DC released Dawn of Justice, Batman vs Superman.
Oh God,
Another
I'm
movie that was
serious.
killed by the studio. DC just doesn't let people make movies.
DC needs to pay Nolan, Snyder, whatever, and like, please fix this.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
We promise we will not get in your
That's not
way.
going to happen. DC is owned by Warner Brothers, and Christopher Nolan hates Warner Brothers for what they did during the pandemic.
I know.
That's why he went to Universal. And Zack Snyder, I don't know if he hates Warner Brothers, but he is not too fond of Warner Brothers. Went over to Netflix and they gave him carte blanche for whatever he wants to create. Same thing with Universal with Christopher Nolan.
Well, that's right. That's why he's doing that Star Wars movie, right?
Same reason why Legendary Pictures, who's done so many great movies, Warner Brothers, left Warner Brothers and went to Sony.
What if M. Night Shyamalan does another Doctor Strange movie?
Stop. Does another Doctor Strange. What do you mean another?
Yeah, I mean, like, he'll do the third one.
No. No.
Come on.
No.
Tell me how that wouldn't be good.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be good. I'm sorry, man. I don't know with this guy. Like he's either hit or miss. There's no in between. He either knocks it out
Hey,
the park or it's
hey,
just
the
like
cabin, the knock in the cabin or something. That was pretty good
it was
with
alright.
Dave Bautista.
It was alright. It was
I
alright.
thought it was
It
interesting.
was. It was.
That was an interesting premise. I'll tell you what.
It was.
Tell me how we can't have that in the comic book universe.
We
All right,
could.
who did Iron Man? Who's the director of Iron Man?
Jon Favreau.
Okay.
Jon
He
Favreau.
didn't do 2, right?
The man. He did 2. He didn't do 3. Shane Black did 3.
That's why it sucked.
You're one of the few people who agrees with me that they don't like Iron Man 3. Everybody else talks so big about Iron Man 3.
3? No. no, no,
But I feel like I'm the minority when I'm like, I don't like Iron Man 3
no,
compared to
no, no,
1
no,
and
no,
2.
no.
Like 3 is on the
Okay,
bottom of
so
my list when it comes to Iron Man movies.
he doesn't really act in stuff anymore. If he does, it's just Lucy on the stuff he's producing.
Who?
Favreau.
Oh yeah. Favreau. He did a little movie I think it came out in 2018 called Chef. I
I
love
like that.
that
That
movie.
fantastic. By the way, it's a show too.
Yes, I've seen the show too. I love that movie. I love that show. And it's not really a show, it's like a documentary cooking show.
Yeah, but it's still good.
Yeah, but I love it. And I don't even really watch shows like that. Love it.
Believe it or not, they have Ahsoka on IMDb as a 7.6 out of 10.
It's a lie. It's a lie.
It's
It's
a lie.
bots. It's a lie. What
You
show are
think?
you watching? That's a
All right, so
lie.
he's got two things coming out. He's got Skeleton Crew and Jungle Book 2. Those are his two things coming up. That's
What is with Disney and
announced.
these sequels, man? With these live action sequels. No one asked for these. No.
Mm.
And then on top of that,
Jungle Book.
Skeleton Crew, I don't believe anything that's under the Lucasfilm banner anymore. All right. I don't. I just
So
don't.
is he just pretty much does stuff exclusively for Disney? Is that his
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think but I heard there was some friction. I heard that Favreau and Filoni was having some friction with Lucasfilm with where they wanted to take the show, which is why
You don't say.
I'm not too keen on anything Lucasfilms is
I hope
doing.
they blow up the whole company and just
Have you
say we're
seen
done.
South Park's joining the Pandaverse?
No.
You gotta watch that. I don't even watch South Park, but I watched that, and it's about how one of the story arcs in there is about how Kathleen Kennedy is ruining Disney with the pander stone and opening up
I believe it.
different realities to make woke movies or something like that. But
I
believe it or
I
not,
believe
it
it.
does come at every angle. You know, even the
How
people
many
who
other how many other Marvel movies has Favreau done?
he's done Iron Man 2. I mean Iron Man 2. He starred in Iron Man 3. He didn't he starred in a lot of stuff, but he hasn't done anything. Like he hasn't directed any. Like he was in Spider-Man 1 and 2 and 3. Uh so yeah, he and I'm talking about the Spider-Mans that's under the Marvel Studios banner.
Right.
And Sony banner. So he hasn't directed anything for Marvel. He's just starred in it.
All
But
right, I got a good question for you. So, if you had to choose between Christopher Nolan or Favreau for a movie you were going to make, who would you have helping you out with it?
depends on the movie.
Whatever. They do similar movies. That's the weird part.
No, they really don't. They don't. I mean, think about Favreau's. He started with Swingers.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I mean,
Vince Vaughn.
Favreau
Um,
Favreau's range is wild. Christopher
it is
Nolan,
it is wild.
his directing range is wild. Christopher Nolan doesn't really have directing range. He has directing depth. Like when he tells a story, even though his stories aren't that different, when he tells a story,
It's
it's
good.
dense,
Yeah.
man. It's good. It's dense. It's well thought out. You know.
Does he write?
Yes, he co-writes with his brother. His brother is the secret sauce to all his films, which is why Tenet didn't do so well because his
He
brother
was too
didn't help.
busy doing Westworld,
Yes, yes.
which was
Season one of
wild all
Westworld.
by itself.
We don't talk about the other
First
seasons,
two
but season
seasons.
one was
First two was great,
the second. The
but that
second
last
season of
one
Westworld was
was
very confusing, but
no. That last one was like, what are we doing?
that
This
last
is how
two,
we're ending this.
yeah, that last two.
I'm
They
like, what
wanted
the
another
heck?
one to end the story, but Warner Bros was like, "You're going nowhere with
See,
this."
Favreau can write by himself.
Yeah.
Nolan cannot.
Well, Favreau, he didn't write Iron Man by himself.
I'm not saying that, but he can do stuff better by himself. Look at all the shows like
That's true.
Mandalorian. He
That's true.
has.
That's true. I mean,
It,
Nolan is a director through and through.
yeah.
That's his thing. That's his thing. Favreau, he's pretty round. He's pretty well rounded. You know.
No, he's a good storyteller in terms of he keeps it clear and concise and entertaining. Nolan's like You need a PhD to understand some of it.
And if you don't understand it, then you're an idiot. And he only makes movies for certain kinds of audiences.
I think he's going to change that opinion because
You
you
think?
know.
I don't think so. He seems like one of those guys who has his cup of tea in his hand, and he's like, I just make these movies for a certain kind of person. And if you don't understand the movie, then you're a moron and you're an idiot. And God save the Queen. I make these movies for the right kind of studios, and if you go to a theater and you can't hear the words of my characters, then you're cheap and you go to a cheap theater. You should try 4 hours or however long it takes to get to a high IMAX quality theater and watch my movies. And if you still can't hear, then you need to go to a doctor that looks over ears. I don't know the word for the doctor, but I'm sure they have doctors for ears, and you need to have that doctor look at your ears because I mix my audio the right way.
All right, all right. Quick question. All right, so the guy for Foundation, what's his name? The one who plays Harry.
Oh, Harris, not Ed Harris. Why am I blanking? Said Harry.
I'll find
Celtic,
out
right?
right now.
Harry Celtic. Uh,
Jared Harris.
Jared Harris. I knew it was a
Jared
Harris.
Harris and Chris Nolan look the same when they have facial hair.
they do. They
They
look like
talk too
cousins.
the
They look
same.
like brothers.
They talk the same too. Like when you had his accent.
Yeah, yeah, they do. I see
Look,
it.
the only kind of voice I can do is some like old Jewish woman. Hey,
Hey.
listen here. It's been 25 years since I've seen a good movie.
You,
No.
you do Andy Samberg imitating Mark Wahlberg pretty good. Hey, how's your mother? You do it pretty good. Hey, how's your mother? I thought it was so funny when in an interview Mark Wahlberg was reacting to it. He's like, "I've never said how's your mother in my life." Oh my gosh, I digress.
I so I feel like so Nolan's probably not going to do another superhero movie again. It seems like, huh?
No, because for all of a sudden it's beneath him to do them. I mean, even though the only reason we know his name is because of Batman, he will never. He thinks they're stupid.
Mainstream, everyone knows his name because of Batman, but he put together some hits before Batman.
How many? Which ones?
Well, Prestige.
No, that was after.
No, Prestige came out in '06.
That was after.
Batman came out in '08. You said.
Batman Begins came out in 2005.
Oh no, really? That long?
Yes.
Oh my god.
He took his time with those movies. There's a 3 year gap before the first and second, and then there's a 4 year gap before the second and third. Dark Knight Rises came out in 2012.
I
Yo, this
keep
is all
forgetting.
off the top of the dome, ladies and gentlemen. I remember all this stuff, man. Boom, boom.
Bro, I didn't. I guess I'm just didn't realize how old I am.
He had one. He had Memento before Batman Begins,
Yeah, Memento in 2000.
and then his indie
Um,
film was like before Memento. He had like a
Following in Doodlebug,
yeah,
Tarantula, and Larceny.
yeah. There was one. It was the following that propelled him, and then he did Memento, and then he did Batman Begins.
Yep, Batman Begins, The Prestige, The Dark Knight, Inception, Dark Knight Rises, Man of Steel, then Interstellar, Dunkirk, Tenet, and Oppenheimer. That's
Man of
it. That's all
Steel, he
he's done.
just produced.
He did the story.
Oh yeah, yeah, he did some story. Yeah, but yeah,
I mean, him, Goyer, and Siegel wrote
Goyer
Superman.
is like the who also is producer and writer of Foundation. He is the zenith of comic book world movies, the world of comic book movies. He co-wrote Blade, co-wrote Blade 2, Blade 3. He directed Blade 3.
Hellraiser.
Hellraiser. He
Nice.
actually if I'm remembering correctly, he had a hand in Metal Gear Solid 2.
He's also doing Masters of the Universe right now.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. But he's written so many DC movies. I don't know if he did any Marvel, but he did a lot of DC comic book movies. And he's like the guy
He
who's
wrote Constantine.
yes. He's the guy who writes these great movies. And not just comic book movies. He's done a lot of sci-fi and fantasy movies too. He's the guy, you
I
know.
like Constantine. That should be remade.
That was good, even though it was like totally different from the comic. That was a good movie with Keanu
You
Reeves.
think Keanu Reeves should redo it?
They're already planning it. It was supposed to go in production soon, but then Warner Brothers had the shuffle of management and stuff. I think it's still on the slate. I think they're still working pre-production. I don't know. I don't know if we got the green light with this new regime in Warner Brothers. And there's a rumor that Warner Brothers is getting sold again. There's a rumor
Good.
that David Zaslav only bought Warner Brothers as a way to sell it off again for a profit. So Warner Brothers Discovery might not be Warner Brothers Discovery anymore.
Still happening,
What? Oh, it's
according to
still
Keanu
happening.
Reeves.
Okay. So yeah,
Nice.
that'll be interesting. Um,
I would love that. Now Warner Bros. Just can't mess it up, but
I was a fan of Matt Ryan's Constantine, which was more in the way of the comic, and he had a one-off show. I think it was on CBS. They canceled it, and then he joined the Arrowverse on the CW. But I think he was a better part of that universe, Matt Ryan. He also did the voice for Edward in Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag. But I thought his Constantine was great because it was just like out of the comic. But the Keanu Reeves Constantine is good too. It's very haunting too. It's very, very creepy. Um, but yeah, yeah. All that to say that David S. Goyer is the man. Can't
he
wait for it.
I know he does Foundation. Foundation's fantastic. He did
Yeah,
Terminator Dark Fate as well.
yeah, yeah. Which one is that again? What's the
One came
cast?
out in 13.
Who played Sarah Connor in Dark Fate?
Checking right now.
Because I get those mixed up. Was it Amelia Clark?
Linda Hamilton.
Linda Hamilton? What year did that come out?
Yeah.
Dark Fate?
19, my bad.
Oh, 19. Okay, yeah, that was the last one that came out. That was an interesting one. Interesting one. Interesting. Um,
I block out everything after it's just
it's like,
you know what's something that needs to be made? I know it's a video game. Max Payne needs to be remade.
did you see the original Max Payne movie with Mark Wahlberg and Mila
It was
Kunis?
awful.
I think the problem was they tried to make it too much like the video game instead of just making it into a Max Payne movie. So they were kind of trying to do that thing that they did in what's that movie called by Frank Miller's comic book Sin City. Once Sin City came out, everybody was trying to do those kind of effects, and that's what they did in Max Payne.
Sin City was great, but Sin City is not fighting crazy
Yeah, like Sin City was its
foes
own
either.
thing. It looked like that because of the comic, and it
Right.
was supposed to look like that because Robert Rodriguez didn't want to change it. And but yeah, Max Payne, I don't know, man. I don't know. But 2008 with Dark Knight and Iron Man changed the game because people saw that this was a viable way of telling stories from now on. Before it was a niche thing, even though Spider-Man made the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies made a crap ton of money, but that's because it's Spider-Man. You can't really put that as you got to put that on its own spectrum because Spider-Man is arguably one of the like most popular comic book characters on a planet. I might even put him above Superman for likability and fandom. I might put him
I
over
agree.
Superman. Um,
Batman's where he's at because of this movie.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, Batman didn't. get popular until, I mean, didn't like skyrocket into popularity until Batman 1989 by Tim Burton, directed by Tim Burton. And that's when people was
Awesome
like,
one, by the way.
"Oh, like we can actually do something different with comic book movies. Like this we can do something different."
I like that one. That's one of my favorite ones. Michael Keaton, bro.
It's definitely a movie of the times, but it's still a classic. Still a
Yeah.
classic.
The George Clooney one, yeah.
Ah, that was Schumacher.
Chris
That
O'Donnell
wasn't
as
Tim Burton.
Robin.
That wasn't
Yeah.
Tim Burton. That was Schumacher, and that's when the studio
I know.
was trying to sell toys. They weren't trying to make movies. They were trying to sell toys, and they had that
Yeah, because all
McDonald's
the
deal.
villains are in those movies. Like all the
Oh
villains were
yes,
in there,
it's
right?
like a smorgasbord of villains, and I remember McDonald's had a deal with them to sell those glass cups. I still have it at my parents' house, and I'm like, why don't you throw this away? Like, why do you still have these Batman glass cups? But yeah, like they McDonald's had a partnership with them, so it stopped being dark and it became campy again. And then Christopher Nolan came back with Batman Begins in 2005. People were like, oh snap, Batman's back to being dit, dit, dit. And then he changed the game again with The Dark Knight. First of all, people was like, "Oh, this will be the first movie not without Batman's name in the title." Whatever. But then it was like, "Oh, he made a gangster movie with the Joker and Batman at the forefront of it." And the Joker wasn't like he was disturbing. He wasn't like ha ha. He was like, "Oh, oh." Like, I can't tell
He
you how many
wasn't ha
times.
ha. He was he.
Yeah, like he like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm."
No, dude, it was sick.
It was like Joker was disturbing. It was, I mean, Batman had real stakes. It was great. It was so good, and so was Iron Man, because Iron Man was the total opposite of the Dark Knight, right? Like Iron Man was
Yes.
fun. It was
Uplifting.
fantastical. It was uplifting. Like
Hmm.
it showed, and it's crazy because the script was in scrambles, and every day on set, Favreau and the writers were in their tent writing out what to say while the actors were on set waiting to get the script to see what they would do for the day. It's funny to see that. Like they were just doing stuff on the fly and writing stuff, and Robert Downey Jr. had to improvise because scripts weren't done, and Robert Downey Jr. just likes to improvise. So he was, it's crazy to see how that happened. It's crazy how a lot of films that had crazy background stories about how they should have failed 100 times over, but then classics are made out of that. Like Gladiator is another one. Gladiator, the scripts were in flux every day. Russell Crowe was refusing to say lines. He was riffing off the cuff with Ridley Scott, and him and the writers were like that. Like it was all over the place, but it's still a classic movie to this day, and I can't believe they're making a
So
sequel.
good
But
that they're making a second one.
like 20 years later, it came out in 2000, so it's 24 years later. Like, they're making a sequel. I don't know, but yeah, it's crazy like how Iron Man was a complete opposite of the Dark Knight, but it was just as successful. I mean, it didn't win Oscars, but it was it. I would say that where The Dark Knight won Oscars and was in the Oscar buzz talk, Iron Man changed the industry itself. I mean,
I agree.
overnight, Marvel Studios became like a full fledged studio that had to move into a bigger space, that had to hire more people to flesh out their whole universe. Like,
Yeah, and now
it's
look.
crazy. It's insane. Like, Kevin Feige was a not a low level producer, but he was like a line producer for the Sam Raimi movies, the X-Men movie. Like he he like basically grew up in this industry, and then he created this universe as the forefront of Marvel Studios. Like it's crazy to see that. Like it's crazy to see the ripple effect of Iron Man, to the
Hmm.
point that their own universe is dying without Robert Downey Jr. Like they don't know how to function without him. They could, but they don't know how because they're not doing the
Right.
work. They're not pausing production, sitting down and figuring out what they're going to do. So they don't know how to function without him. And it's crazy. It's crazy that Robert Downey Jr. Felt like he had to find a way to go beyond that character because he kept felt like he was just doing that character to where he ended up with Christopher Nolan on Oppenheimer and doing something totally different from what he's known for. So I mean, arguably The Dark Knight showed people what superhero movies could be, and Iron Man showed the industry what it is and what it will be. It shaped it, it created it.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
for the most part, we're for the better for it. But ever since
Yeah, it's just getting old now.
2019, yeah,
That's
ever
where we're
since
at. Yeah.
2019, it's just we've had 4 years of just ass. There's been some good ones, you know. Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, was it No Way Home or Far From Home?
Hmm.
No Way Home. I mean, we've had some good ones across the universe. I mean, across the Spider Verse. Since 2019. But
Venom.
Venom, okay, if you want to say that.
No. Shout out to your boy who thinks Venom's great.
I know. Shout out to you know who you are who thinks Venom is the greatest thing on the planet. Okay, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Without 2008, we wouldn't be where we are to this day. It changed the industry for the superheroes.
Yeah,
Who was
definitely.
still considered a niche product, but
Yep.
now it's like $1 billion, $1 trillion industry. It's crazy. It's wild. I mean, yeah. Anything to add?
No, I mean, we pretty much covered it, I think.
Yeah, pretty much covering it. So, 2008. What do you think? What's another year after 2008? My nomads. Do you
Hmm.
think that shape? I would argue that's 2012, but we can talk about that another time or whatever. But yeah, this was another good one, my nomads. Be creative. Peace.